sounds like these two are a match made in heaven, or should I say, hell. Welcome back to another true story animation, where today we'll be reacting to My family didn't believe that something was living inside of me. This story sounds awful. What does he mean that something was living inside of him? Like a spider? An apple seed that sprouted? A baby? The only thing that's living inside of me is the ever-growing urge to eat everything. Always. Anyway guys, before this video starts, I just want to ask if you can turn notifications on for the channel by clicking the bell. Also, leave a like while you're there. Otherwise, tonight at midnight, a spider will decide that your body is going to be its next home. Let's get into the story. Headset on.
Hi, my name is Andy and I'm 15 years old.
Hi, Andy.
Let me ask you a question. Do you love your siblings? For as long as I can remember, my older sister mocked me constantly and put me down.
Well, she's not a very nice sister, is she?
Because of her, I was afraid to live. And I mean that literally.
What is that supposed to mean? You were afraid to live? Was she really that bad?
One evening, when I was 10 and Judy, my sister, was 14, our parents asked her to babysit me. Although my sister hated me, recently with our parents, she'd been pretending to be a loving sister so that they would buy a car for her 16th birthday.
She's really planning in advance. She's only 14 and she's already thinking about her goals for when she's 16. Girl is clever.
When we were alone, she was always angry and made fun of me constantly. She would say that I was a wimp and a freak and that I was adopted.
Oh, is this what she wants to happen to him? She literally wants him to be booted out of the family. Sis is rude.
But that evening, everything went too far. As soon as my parents went away, Greg, Judy's boyfriend, came over.
Why does Greg look super evil? I'm worried that he's about to do something evil to this poor 10-year-old boy.
He was 17 and he was as nasty as my sister. Greg always called me a dweeb, making fun of my height and lack of muscles. When he and Judy got bored, they would force me to box with him or try to lift heavy dumbbells.
Excuse me, what? It sounds like these two are a match made in heaven, or should I say, hell. They're both as bad as each other.
I loved to draw comics and wanted only one thing, to be left alone. When Greg came over that night, they sat me down with them and put on a horror movie. In the film, monsters crawled out of people through their belly button and ripped them in half.
This film sounds awful, and it also sounds like the type of film a 10-year-old should definitely not be watching.
I was terrified, but I was forced to sit and watch the awful film. Judy, seeing I was upset, laughed and grabbed my belly button. I have an outie belly button, and my sister told me that a monster, like from the film we were watching, lived in me. She claimed that she had seen a larva creep into my ear when I was younger, and soon, a monster would burst out of my belly button and rip me apart.
I think this is one of my worst fears. Have you ever seen those videos where spiders are living inside of people's ears? That's my worst nightmare. I hate that. So I have no idea how this poor little boy is feeling right now.
I couldn't sleep for a long time that night, and so I drew the monsters from the movie until I dozed off. In the morning, I woke up. Looking down, I saw blood. Red blood. It was like I had drawn last night. I lifted my pajama top, and there was blood around my belly button. I froze. I looked, and beneath the blood, there was something black.
Oh my goodness. I was hoping this was going to be a fake prank by his sister, but I'm starting to think it's not. Oh, this is horrible. But I'm so curious. What is it?
Just like the movie. I screamed so loud that all our neighbors heard me, and my mom came running into my room. I was hysterical and kept crying and trying to explain about the monster that was coming out of my belly button. I tried to tell my mom that I was going to die as soon as the thing burst out of me, and maybe I was adopted. But between the tears and the screaming, I didn't make any sense.
I do not know how you would even start to tell someone that there's a creature in your belly button. You're gonna sound crazy, that's for sure.
Eventually, my mama lifted my pajama top, took one look at my belly button, and dragged me into the shower. I wasn't going to die. Judy and Greg had snuck into my room once I was asleep and drawn something that looked like a monster on my belly button, then covered it with ketchup.
Oh, so it was just a prank. Thank goodness. I was terrified that an alien had got into his belly button, or maybe, I don't know, not an alien, maybe something else. I was scared for him. What a weird thing to do anyway, sneaking into your little brother's bedroom to play a prank like that on him. She has to get the award for worst sister of the year.
Judy got grounded, and I got sent to a child psychologist.
Surely Judy should be sent to a child psychologist. She's the one who's messed up.
Because of the incident with Judy and Greg and the movie, I developed an erratic phobia of belly buttons.
I did not know you could have a fear of belly buttons. But then again, belly buttons kind of creep me out, considering they are the thing that connected you to your parent. I just find it strange. You had a tube coming from your stomach into your parent. I think that's creepy. It's natural, but it's weird. So I understand the phobia. I just didn't know it existed.
As soon as I saw them, I would panic, thinking some monster would emerge and rip the person in twain.
How often is he seeing belly buttons, though? I can't actually remember the last time I looked at my own belly button, never mind someone else's.
I had horrible nightmares and regularly awoke in a cold sweat. What was worse was that I started to notice something. My belly button really was getting bigger.
Oh no, oh no. I think that's possible as well because his belly button is an outie. Mine's an innie, so it can't really get bigger unless the hole started to expand, which is a weird thought, but I guess an outie belly button can expand. It can get a little bit bigger. But why is that happening?
And I was terrified. I didn't tell anyone, not Mom, not Dad, not even Stella. My belly button was getting bigger, and I knew what would happen once it got too big. The monster inside of me would come out and rip it apart. Eventually, the pain, which was only minor at first, got too bad. Desperate and thoroughly terrified, I told my mom. She took one look at my belly button and turned white.
What the heck? That was huge! Why is that so big? I understand why he didn't want to tell his family though. They'd probably think he was going crazy about belly buttons again. But he wasn't! This is actually happening. His belly button is the size of a tennis ball.
We were in an ambulance on the way to the hospital within the hour. At the hospital, the doctors discovered that I didn't have a case of the money bellies, but instead something called an umbilical hernia. Moreover, I had had this since birth. This umbilical hernia had had an effect on my growing up. It was the reason I was so weak, why I was so scrawny, why I was such a dweeb. I needed an operation to remove the hernia and was put under for it. But when I came to, I made a startling discovery. I no longer had a belly button.
How can you not have a belly button? I'm so confused. Like there's no hole? It's just flat? What?
It had been removed alongside my hernia. The thing I was most afraid of was gone.
This kid feels like he's winning at life right now. His worst phobia has been literally removed.
But despite this, I still had nightmares and still felt uneasy about the whole thing.
Okay, I take that back. He still has the phobia.
Judy, annoyed at having gotten in trouble, continued to tease me. She constantly told me that the monster was still inside me and hadn't been removed and was going to crawl out any day now. I'd had surgery to remove a hernia, and my outie had been removed as well. So why did this bother me? Because I could feel something moving in my stomach.
Oh no, there really is something in there? Or maybe it's his paranoia. If somebody messes with your head all the time, eventually it's going to get to you. Maybe that's what's happening here. Maybe there's no creature and it's all in his head. But maybe there is a creature.
This time, I told Stella right away. But she thought it was my phobia playing on my perception of reality. She was proven wrong very quickly, as a few days after our session, I came down with a fever. It got worse and worse, and eventually my mom called an ambulance.
Again? This poor kid is going through so much right now. Bless him.
I was taken back to the hospital, but I was terrified. Were the doctors going to find the monster in my stomach? Was I going to be torn apart?
I'm hoping it's just complications from the surgery. Sometimes after having a surgery like that, it can become infected and cause a fever. So maybe that's just what it is.
Not quite, but the doctors did find something. During my operation, a piece of cotton wool had broken off inside of me, which none of the doctors had spotted. This wool had been resting inside of me, absorbing liquid and moving about.
Ew, that is so gross. But this is also a common thing that happens after operations. Sometimes they end up leaving equipment inside of you, which is terrifying. And I hope that never ever happens to anyone who's watching this video. Oh gosh.
Because it was near where I had had the surgery, the skin was tender and thus I felt a lot of pain when it brushed the tissue. Now I had an even uglier scar, as the doctors had to remove it too. I was never vain or proud of my body, but now I was extraordinarily self-conscious about it. My parents spent a lot of time with me, and Judy grew ever more jealous.
Serves you right, Judy. You're an evil sister. You deserve everything you get.
She was angry at me too, as apparently I had stopped Mom and Dad from buying her a car at 16.
I think you'll find you stopped yourself getting a car because you're evil. Look at you. You have horns on your head. Nothing screams evil more than devil horns.
In fact, Mom and Dad had seen how she behaved towards me when she thought they weren't looking, and decided she wasn't mature enough for a car. She continued to mock me, to tease me, and to tell me I was adopted. Mom and Dad finally had enough and decided to arrange a very special birthday party for me. On my 12th birthday, my parents arranged for only a small celebration. No friends, no relative, just me, Mom, Dad, and Judy. Mom and Dad told us they had something to tell me, and Dad showed me an old piece of paper.
Wait a second, is he actually adopted? Also, what the heck has happened to Mom and Dad here? Are they okay?
It was an adoption certificate. Judy had been right all along. I was adopted. I had been adopted when I was a few months old, Mom told me.
No way! Judy was actually telling the truth. So maybe she wasn't being mean. Maybe she was just trying to tell the truth. No, that's definitely mean.
They showered me in kind words and told me how much they loved me, whilst Judy stood there, her face full of malice and glee. That was until Dad presented a second old piece of paper.
Is Judy adopted too? Because that would be the funniest thing. All of her life, she's been bullying her brother for being adopted when she is too.
Judy, we adopted you too.
Oh my gosh. Karma is a sweet thing. There's also nothing wrong with being adopted, by the way, so I don't know why she was using that as an insult. Adoption is a magical thing. The fact that somebody can take in a child who didn't have a family and raise them in a loving household is just such a great thing. So I don't know why Judy was always being mean about that. Turns out she's adopted herself.
You and Andrew are biological siblings. We love you both equally. The truth was, our parents couldn't have children. They had decided to adopt a baby from an orphanage, that is, me. But they learned that I had an older sister and didn't want to separate us, so they took us both in.
Oh, it's so kind of them. Instead of taking in one, they took in both of them so they could be together.
Our biological parents had died in a car accident 3 months after my birth. For so many years, we had thought each other different and weird and had vied with each other for our parents' love, when in fact, we were the same. 2 orphan children adopted by parents who loved us both equally. I struggled with my phobia for years. I sometimes thought that I would never get past it. But a few days after my birthday, it just vanished.
I think hearing the truth has really helped fix his phobia, which is so good.
I don't know how to explain it. It just stopped being a problem. Judy changed too. Since learning that we were both adopted, we get on better. She is more supportive and nice, and I try to help her any way I can.
Yes, we love siblings who support each other. I'm glad that she's changed her ways.
Do you remember I used to draw cartoons? Well, I still do, except now I get paid for it. I developed my love for comics and monsters into a job as a freelance artist and illustrator.
Yes, that's so awesome. Also loving that he's using a Pear laptop, you know, instead of Apple. I just love that. I thought it was a funny touch.
I draw monsters for a living. And my belly button? Well, let's just say I make far scarier monsters now. This is what happens in life. Our greatest fears can develop into our greatest triumphs. and almost enemies become our dearest friends.
I'm absolutely petrified of spiders, which is why I thought this story was going to be about a spider living inside of him. Thank goodness it wasn't. Anyway, guys, if you did enjoy this video and you would like to watch another one, click here and let's go watch it together.